5 decades, 7 confirmed victims. One of America's most notorious serial killers, still unidentified. Or is he? What if everything we thought we knew about the Zodiac was wrong? What if the killer wasn't working alone? What if the evidence pointing to their identity has been hiding in plain sight all along? 5 decades, 7 confirmed victims. One of America's most notorious serial killers, still unidentified. Or is he? What if everything we thought we knew about the Zodiac was wrong? What if the killer wasn't working alone? What if the evidence pointing to their identity has been hiding in plain sight all along? We're going to examine shocking new evidence that challenges everything about this infamous case. Evidence that might finally answer the question that has haunted America for over 50 years. Who was the Zodiac?
Victims, still unknown? Imagine if our Zodiac beliefs were all mistaken. What if the killer wasn't working alone? What if the evidence pointing to their identity has been hiding in plain sight all along? Today, we're going to examine shocking new evidence that challenges everything about this infamous case. Evidence that might finally answer the question that has haunted America for over 50 years. Who was the Zodiac? The late 1960s. The summer of love had faded into memory, and the San Francisco Bay Area was changing. Vietnam protests filled the streets. The counterculture movement was in full swing. And in the midst of this social transformation, a shadow fell over Northern California. Between December 1968 and October 1969, a mysterious figure terrorized the Bay Area. A killer who not only murdered, but taunted police with cryptic letters and ciphers sent to local newspapers. A killer who gave himself a name that would become infamous, Zodiac. Killer's taunts terrified the public. By writing to newspapers, he controlled the narrative in a way we hadn't seen before. He created his own mythology. But who was the person or persons behind the Zodiac persona? Solve America's enduring mystery today. Heinous acts crave attention? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Zodiac's reach spanned Vallejo, Napa, SF, complicating probes. Détective divers, méthode variée. The Zodiac claimed responsibility for 37 murders in his letters, but investigators have only confirmed 7 attacks with 5 fatalities. Yet the true body count remains unknown. Serial killers often exaggerate their crimes. It feeds their ego. But with Zodiac, we can't rule out the possibility that there are more victims we've never connected to the case. Tonight, we'll examine this case from every angle. We'll look at old evidence through new eyes. Multiple killers, one identity? But first, let's return to where it all began. December 20, 1968. Lake Herman Road. The attacks Lake Herman Road, a lover's lane on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. December 20, 1968. First date. Watch from dark. Midnight ambush. Gunfire erupted. Betty Lou was shot 5 times in the back as she tried to escape. David was shot once in the head. They became the Zodiac's first confirmed victims. This attack showed planning. The location was isolated. The killer brought a flashlight and a weapon. This wasn't a crime of opportunity, this was premeditated murder. What do you think drove the killer to target this young couple? Was it random, or was there something specific about them, or the location? Share your theories below. 6 months later, July 4th, 1969, Independence Day. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau drove to Blue Rock Springs Park, less than 4 miles from the Lake Herman Road murder site. Darlene was 22, a waitress and mother. Michael was 19. Reenactment of car pulling up behind victim's vehicle. At around midnight, a car parked behind them, then left, only to return minutes later. The driver approached with a flashlight, blinding them. Then, without a word, he fired multiple rounds into the car. Darlene died on arrival at the hospital. Michael, despite being shot in the face and neck, survived. He would later provide police with a description of the shooter. Michael Mageau's survival was crucial. He described the attacker as a white male, about 5'8" to 5'10", with a heavy build. That description would later match with what other witnesses reported. 1 hour after the shooting, something happened that would transform these crimes from random attacks to something much more sinister. A man called the Vallejo Police Department, calmly taking credit for both the Blue Rock Springs shooting and the Lake Herman Road murders 6 months earlier. I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye. The call came from a phone booth just blocks from the police station. By the time officers traced it, the caller was gone. Did you notice something strange about that call? The caller knew details only the killer would know. But why call? Why risk being caught? Share what you think motivated the Zodiac to announce his crimes. Students picnicked, then terror. A man approached them wearing what would become the Zodiac's most iconic Imagine Black executioner-style hood, with the crosshair symbol sewn onto the chest. He claimed to be an escaped convict who needed their car and money to flee to Mexico. He bound them with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. Brian, 6 stabs. Cecilia, 10. She died. Attacker marked Brian's car with a crosshair and dates. He again reported his crime. The Lake Berryessa attack shows a dramatic escalation. The costume, the elaborate story, the signature symbol the killer was creating his own mythology. Why do you think the Zodiac changed his method from shooting to stabbing? What was he trying to communicate with this theatrical approach? 1969年10月11日，旧金山保罗斯廷在市中心宰客 Presidio Heights upscale homes. Passenger shot Stein, then did something odd. Teenagers saw, police called. They described a white man in his early 40s, stocky build, with reddish-brown hair. Dispatcher's error. White suspect missed. A letter claimed the murder. Enclosed was a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt, proof that the writer was the killer. The Zodiac's choice to murder a taxi driver in an urban setting was a significant departure from his previous pattern of attacking couples in secluded areas. What do you think this tells us about the killer's evolution? Was he becoming more confident or more desperate for attention? On August 1, 1969, 3 Bay Area newspapers, the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner each received an identical letter.
Dear editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo. Each letter contained 1/3 of a 408-symbol cryptogram that the writer claimed would reveal his identity. The Zodiac ciphers show intelligence and planning. He created a substitution cipher complex enough that it took professional cryptographers and amateur codebreakers working together to solve it. The Zodiac didn't just send letters, he sent greeting cards, strange drawings, and even a piece of blood-stained clothing. Each communication was carefully crafted to terrorize the public and taunt investigators. Looking at the Zodiac's writing style and communication patterns, do you see evidence of one person, or could multiple people have written these letters? What psychological insights can we draw from these messages? Share your analysis in the comments. The Zodiac investigation was unprecedented in its scope and complexity. Attacks occurred across multiple counties and cities, requiring coordination between the Vallejo Police Department, Napa County Sheriff's Office, San Francisco Police Department, and eventually the FBI. Detectives Dave Toschi and Bill Armstrong of the SFPD became the public faces of the investigation. They followed thousands of leads and interviewed hundreds of suspects. The challenge with the Zodiac case was the lack of forensic technology we take for granted today. No DNA testing, limited fingerprint databases, no cell phone records or surveillance cameras. Detectives relied on witness descriptions, handwriting analysis, and traditional detective work. The evidence collected was substantial but inconclusive. Partial fingerprints from the Stein crime scene, handwriting samples from the letters, ballistic evidence from multiple crime scenes. Over the years, investigators developed a list of prime suspects: Arthur Leigh Allen, a former elementary school teacher; Rick Marshall, a film projectionist; Lawrence Kane, a businessman; Earl Van Best Jr., identified by his son decades later, and many others. If you were leading this investigation with the evidence available at the time, which leads would you have prioritized? What investigative methods might have yielded better results? Let us know your thoughts. Modern perspectives and new theories. Today, advances in forensic science, particularly DNA analysis, have revolutionized cold case investigations. But the Zodiac case presents unique challenges. In 2018, investigators used modern DNA techniques to extract a profile from stamps and envelope seals on the Zodiac letters. The results were inconclusive. The Zodiac evidence has been handled by countless people over 5 decades. Contamination is a significant concern, plus environmental factors degrade DNA over time. Beyond DNA, modern computational analysis has offered new insights into the Zodiac's handwriting and ciphers. Geographic profiling, a technique that analyzes crime locations to determine where an offender might live, suggests the Zodiac likely lived in the Vallejo area. Linguistic analysis of the Zodiac letters has led some experts to propose a radical theory. What if the Zodiac Killer wasn't one person, but multiple people? When we analyze the letters chronologically, we see subtle shifts in language patterns, handwriting, and even psychological indicators. This has led some investigators to cons.
Another modern theory suggests the Zodiac might have been a team, perhaps one person committing the murders while another wrote the letters. This could explain discrepancies in witness descriptions and communication patterns. Researchers have also connected the Zodiac to other unsolved cases from the same period, including the Santa Rosa hitchhiker murders and the Donna Lass disappearance. What do you think of these modern theories? Could the Zodiac have been multiple people working together? Could the killer have continued his crimes under a different signature? Share your theories in the comments below.
The Zodiac's influence extends beyond his own crimes. The iconic crosshair symbol, the cryptic letters, the theatrical costume, all have been referenced and sometimes imitated in popular culture, and disturbingly, by other criminals. Why do you think the Zodiac case continues to fascinate us more than 50 years later? What does our continued obsession with unsolved mysteries like this reveal about our society? Share your thoughts
Conclusion.
below.
As we conclude our investigation, we must remember that beyond the ciphers, letters, and theories are the lives forever changed by these crimes. David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, Paul Stein, and the survivors who carried the trauma for decades, Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell.
Now the cultural impact, the Zodiac in American consciousness. Few criminal cases have captured the American imagination like the Zodiac killings. David Fincher's 2007 film Zodiac brought renewed attention to the case. Based on Robert Graysmith's books, it portrayed the investigation and its effect on those who became obsessed with solving it. Cultural historian, the Zodiac case emerged during a pivotal moment in American history, the end of the 1960s when public trust in institutions was eroding. the killer who outsmarted police became a dark symbol of authorities' limitations. The case helped fuel America's fascination with true crime. Countless books, documentaries, and podcasts have examined the evidence, proposed new theories, and kept the story alive for new generations. Today, a global community of amateur sleuths continues to investigate. Internet forums, dedicated websites, and social media groups analyze every detail of the case. The internet has democratized the investigation. People from all backgrounds, cryptographers, forensic experts, historians, regular citizens can contribute to solving this puzzle.
The Zodiac case remains officially unsolved. While the killer may have died, the questions persist. Who was behind the crosshair symbol? Was it one person or several? Will we ever know the full truth? Investigators have never closed the case. Each year brings new DNA techniques, new computational methods, and new perspectives. Perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Zodiac is how it reminds us of both the limits and the possibilities of justice. Cold cases are being solved decades later, thanks. The Zodiac wanted to be remembered. He crafted his own mythology through his communications and crimes. But we should remember not the persona he created, but the lives he destroyed and the families still seeking closure. What lessons do you take from this unsolved case? Does it make you question our justice system, human nature, or something else entirely? This conversation continues with you. Share your final thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thank you for joining us for this investigation into one of America's most enduring criminal mysteries. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the notification bell to stay updated on future investigations. Next time, we'll explore another infamous unsolved case with new evidence and perspectives. Join the conversation on our other platforms where we dive even deeper into these cases and discuss your theories. Until next time, stay curious and keep searching for the truth.